Okay, so today we're going to talk about the Well Addendum. We'll be taking a closer look at private and community wells and what you should look for as a buyer or seller when you have a property that's served by a well. Do you know what's needed of multi-party wells? What about community well systems? And we'll be talking about the well contingency and timelines that are realistic for water tests and well function tests. We'll also be looking at building capabilities and answering the question, what is a contamination circle?
Sounds delightful.
It is delightful. Well, contaminations are delightful. Well, not this kind of well, but this kind of well. Our typical well for a residential home is going to look more like this than the hole in the ground that we're used to. Typically, they range about 6 inches wide and can go in depth of 100, 300 feet. It is just a tube that goes all the way down to the water table. There is a pump submerged all the way down, and then you have electrical feeding that pump. So when you look at the well from the side and you see the PVC piping coming out, that's actually an electrical pump. It's not a water source. The water source will be fed from the mid well into the home. And if there is a pressure issue with the amount of water that serves, a pressure tank may be added in the home.
There's not always a pressure tank.
Not always a pressure tank, no. Wells, hand dug wells, these are still around. Believe it or not, we found one at Alicia's property that she sold on Langley Road. And hand dug well, I just wanted to bring up this picture so you see what it looks like. Typically they are wider, so I've seen them 2 to 6 feet wide, and they're shallow. I've seen them as shallow as 12 feet deep or as deep as 50 feet. They will look like a hole in the ground. Sometimes there will be a sump pump attached to it. Sometimes there will be a piece of plywood covering it. There may be a pump, like the old-fashioned farming pump. Those hand dug wells may dry out seasonally. They're not meant for drinking water. In fact, it's unsafe to drink out of a hand dug well that is open like this. So when you're on a property and you find the well, what you want to do is make sure the well is capped. The top left well right here is what it should look like. The cap's not always blue, but that's generally what the well will look like. It needs to have a cap on it. Certain hand dug wells, like the one on the bottom left, have been used for things like agriculture, like watering plants. I haven't really seen a lot lately because they're starting to decommission some of those hand dug wells. And if you see a well like either of the two on the right, run away. Run away fast.
Oh wow.
Okay, so this is just this is a copy of the Well Addendum. If you know the property is being served by a well or even a community well, it is advisable to use this addendum. I know in the past, I've always been told only if it's a private well or this or that. But the reason I like this addendum is because it covers more than just that. It covers any documents that the seller may have on the water system itself. So if you see the word well, please feel free to use this. Typically, there will be one connection if it's a private well. Sometimes private wells are shared between a couple properties. My particular well at my house, which I'm going to show you in my example on how to look up wells, is actually a 4-party well. This is the second part of the well addendum right here. Number 3, it gives that seller kind of a trigger to supply documents that they may have on the well. This is more than just what the Form 17 offers. You don't want to heavily rely on what they tell you with the Form 17, but rather create this sort of obligation or trigger for them to provide you as much information as possible. And then our well contingency is just like the inspection contingency, where our timelines need to be carefully carefully thought about, and within those timelines, you have to get all of your tests done. Your water tests, your well function tests, and any other research you need to do about this well. Now, there are local requirements. I know for my 4-party system, we're required to test it. I can't remember how often. Monthly, or there's a lot of tests that we have to do for a smaller well. Community wells are usually maintained by a water management system. They already comply with different water testing that needs to be done, and just making sure that things are on safe levels for, I believe they look at E. coli and like the bacteriological, not necessarily everything encompassing all water quality. So they check like the main things. Here's an example of a well test that I had done on a property. This one right here is a basic test. It cost $40. They give you a small vial and you go to the house, you burn out the, you take a lighter and you burn the faucet. You run the water for a few minutes, you catch a small sample of the water, you seal up this vial. You can send it to Water Analytical.
Okay.
Did you have a question? No? Okay, sorry.
What faucet do you use?
I used the outdoor spigot for this one.
Okay,
The
the
faucet.
faucet burn, I'd imagine you want.
Yeah, so you're let's just burn their house.
Yeah.
No, for this specific sample, I used the outdoor spigot,
Okay.
the one that was connected to the house.
Okay.
I ran the water for a few minutes, then I burned off additional, like, just dust and things that could contaminate the water. You run it again, you catch it in a vial that has a little bit of powder in it. It's about 3 ounces of water. And when you send off this test, it's a really simple water test that only tests for these 2 things. So in this situation, we did find unsatisfactory levels of coliform and E. coli was present. In my circumstance with this one, they called me within 24 hours to tell me this test was unsatisfactory. So if there is a red flag that comes up, they usually will call you within 24 hours to tell you that this water is not safe. Right. If the water,
Your house?
this is one I sold. So in this case, because the water was unsafe, there are ways to fix that water before you close, which you're going to have to do. We were able to do what they call a well shock, which is essentially where they open up the cap to the well, they pour down a drinkable safe bleach. It's a special type of bleach, so don't do this yourself. And then run the lines for 20 minutes or however long it takes for that smell to come out of the water.
So the seller was living with water like that.
This was a vacant home that they, yeah. Also a super shady cellar, so
Yeah.
it happened to be a well that was in an agriculture area though, right next to horse pasture, right next to all that stuff. So all of that was within what we call the contamination circle, which is 100-foot radius from the center. So it was in the middle of horse farm. Okay, so here's another example of water testing. This one is a test that looks like it's done monthly, and I believe my water sample is also done monthly. They'll do simple tests like the one I just showed, the $40 test, and certain water systems are required to test very regularly, while others can go a longer span of time. So it's just an example of what it looks like. In the website, you can actually go to each one of these tests and see all the details of them, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so for community and private systems, water testing is actually required if the property is served by the well. So question number 1 should be, I would like to see the most recent water test. If they don't have a water test, or at least it hasn't been within a year, you may want to consider adding the well addendum, or putting in the contract that they are to perform a satisfactory water test. The frequency of the test will vary depending on the type of well that serves the property. And whether they're maintained by a water management company or privately maintained, you want to make sure the tests are up to date. Okay, so what happens during the inspection? So an inspector will come out and they will uncap the well. They will I guess they just look at everything. They take the water level of the well when they uncap it. They will run the water from a hose.
It is not,
Okay, you okay?
I am doing just fine, yeah.
Okay.
There's nothing, I just am,
All right. They will run the water for about an hour out of the hose into 5-gallon buckets and just dump it, just to see the drawdown from the well. They will test the water pressure. They will do water samples if you pay for those separately, but the test that a well inspector does is simply a function of the well. So if you
not
want,
the water.
not the water necessarily, it is a functional test of how the well is working. In fact, this form is in one of our list of form changes where there's going to be, and I can't remember because I don't have my notes in front of me, there may be a second addendum because we love adding forms. There will be at least 2 spaces where you can write one for the well test and one for the water test.
Because are they usually separate companies? Or does the one who comes and tests
Could be
the well?
inspector.
Could be, it could be separate, it could be the same.
Okay,
I have had water tests only without well function tests. And I've had a different person come out who my well guy is my overall well guy. He'll do everything.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Water-
some of them do both, you
Yes.
just have to request it.
And water tests can be done by you, like by the
That's what you were
buyer.
saying last time.
Yeah, you can just get the vials. They're at the health department. Edge Analytical has several pickup and drop off sites. And if you mark the box for informational only and not for compliance, then it will give you the results without recording them with the Department of Health.
Hmm.
So if you just want the information, what I did with this one in order to do this, I wasn't the homeowner. So when I did the well test for a property that wasn't my own, I did not write, I'm doing it for compliance. I don't care if he's compliant or not. I just want to know the information and it's not up to me to make him compliant. So I chose just informational, which also did not record it with the health department that it came back bad.
Now, what happens if it is reported with the health department?
Then you need to shock the well and get a positive test back in place.
So you do the same thing that
Exactly.
you did,
Exactly.
okay,
But had we
since
not
you-
sold, had we not closed the sale.
of course.
You know, that's
Since you were not the homeowner, you did not record.
true. Yes.
Is that why the strategy?
Yeah, I always think if you're doing it for information, then do it for information.
That makes sense.
You know, if you want the seller to do it for compliance, then ask them to be the one performing the test and have them check it for compliance.
Got it.
So a typical a well test, if you can get the well inspector out there, he'll tell you immediately how the well is functioning. Okay, they usually get the reports back really quickly. If you're trying to do a water test, a simple water test will probably take the entire boilerplate time to get the results back.
Unless it's bad,
Unless it's bad, yes, they'll tell you right away.
okay.
It's bad. If you have a more complex test where they're gonna check turbidity, multiple things like iron, manganese, anything else other than those 2 things, it's gonna take 3 weeks to get that test back. If you plan on doing an in-depth water test, either ask the seller to do it or give yourself at least 3 weeks to get those test results back. If you intend to use the well contingency to get out of the contract.
What's the boilerplate on the?
10 days. It's not enough time. The
Yeah.
boilerplate on this is not enough time. But like I said, they will tell you if there's something dangerous. They just won't tell you if it's high. So if you go into a house and it has stinky egg smelling water, it might be perfectly safe chemically to drink. But if it's high, you won't know how high until those water results come back.
What do you mean, like high in sulfur?
well, high in iron, high in sulfur,
Okay, high
high
in
in
sulfur.
anything.
Okay.
If it's at a level where your client doesn't want to go through with it, but not at a level that the health department flags it, that's the gray area. What rights do you want to give them? I'm just letting you know that those tests take 3 weeks to come back.
You're making me never want to go.
They're not that bad. Have the seller complete this, you know, have the seller just complete these things. Here are some things to know. This is kind of like the tribal knowledge things about wells that you should know when going into things. Homes served by a well will have different tasting water. Water pressure may need to be adjusted, or the addition of a pressure tank may need to happen. Our home was running approximately 8 PSI. Sometimes, because we had 4 connections with our well, and I was tired of the pressure going down. So we installed like a one-way valve on the well, so everything coming out wouldn't go back in when other people used it. And we added a pressure tank, so we would always have the amount of pressure we needed. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but low pressure can actually cause spacing in the lines, which causes the bacteria buildup. So low pressure is dangerous for a house. High pressure is also very dangerous for a house. And there is a sweet spot. I want to say 30 to 80.
Yeah, that's the sweet spot.
Sweet spot of
And you were 8?
38. It was 8.
Oh,
30 plus 80 minus PSI. Too high, you can damage your appliances. Yeah. High iron and manganese causes a rotten egg smell. So if you go into a house, you run the water and it smells, or if it's, this sounds gross, but if your water is slimy, it could be over softened. If they have a water softener
You
system.
have it on your radar that we're meeting today, right? You have it on your radar that we're meeting today?
Russ, you're not muted.
Russ, are you talking to us? Oh, it's you.
Hi, Russ. I know the back of my head was being video. I hate that. Okay. When wells can be shocked to reset the bacteria levels and offer the home clean water. When you build, you want to keep a 100-foot radius away from the well, not necessarily with the house. The house can be closer, but if you have anything that could cause ground issues like your septic, maybe farm animals, you want to keep them outside of that 100-foot radius of the well.
The contamination circle.
So
The
this-
contamination circle, it's called the contamination circle, and like I hate saying that because it sounds so terrible. But you also make sure that if you're in the contamination circle, maybe you're not using things like poison on your lawn, because you know things do go through the ground and eventually do end up in that water.
Sounds like the name of that game.
Contamination circle.
I don't know like if this even matters, but you know, like say on a really hilly lot, like is it designed where the septic would be down, the well would be up? Like is there?
It's wherever the ground is perkable for the septic. So if it's up the hill, they'll have a pump pumping it up the hill.
Yeah. And so the well then could be further down. And it
Yes,
would be
the well
fine
just
as long
cannot
as it's,
cross over the contamination circle
yeah.
with the septic. I'm not saying that they don't do that. I'm saying that if it does,
So it happens.
make that be a red flag for you to be like, wait a minute here. That septic system is right next to the wellhead.
Mhm.
Maybe we should
Those
not,
two holes
maybe we should
be
not,
that close
yeah,
together.
those two holes should not be close together.
No.
That's true.
It's an input and an output. Okay, give your buyers 21 days for an in-depth water test and 15 days for a basic. Or ask the seller, like I said, ask the seller to do these ahead of time. If you have sellers, get them done before. Have a basic $40 water test done before they list their house. Then when the buyer wants a water test, you can just hand over the water test. Right. Wells that have HOA dues that cover the well usage may have a transfer fee. They might be hidden, and I don't know, even I asked so many questions, I don't know any more questions I could have asked to find out this answer ahead of time. But find out everything you can if there is an HOA involved, because typically well communities use an HOA as the way of accepting payment for the well. Even though there's no governing body as far as enforcing rules for a true HOA, so
basically the
use,
HOA is for the well.
yes, they'll use the HOA for the purpose of the well. And lastly, use the 22R if you have a property that is being served by a well or private water system.
Now, if you have like a community well and they do the monthly inspections or the monthly water tests. Is that something you feel like you should do for your buyer as well, or do you just take their monthly?
Access a community well,
That was kind of the other question, is how
Yeah.
would you test
water quality only, and if they're doing the tests as they should, you shouldn't have to do this.
it? Got it.
Because it's
And if
public.
you're testing the water quality, you can do that from the home.
You can separately test the water quality from the home anywhere you want. It doesn't even have to be because of a well, you can just test the water quality at any home. If there's a community well that a company is serving this well. And it's like, sometimes they're in like a gate,
You kind of get
you
there.
you
get
can't
their
get
documents.
there, you're not gonna test the function of that well.
Got it.
You might want, documents. You can use this for document requests, you can, you can use it, you don't have to use this though, because you'll have water test results already. You can't test the function of that well, you'd have no idea how many connections are on that well, so this form might be inappropriate to use for that kind of a system, yeah. Rather like ask for the most recent water tests in a form 34. Or put it in an inspection response. Or something that makes them give it to you. I'm
Do
also-
generally like community wells to have less issues than the private ones anyway, because they're constantly monitored?
I don't think less issue, I think it's
Yeah.
about the same,
It's about the same.
yeah.
Are they generally though, like, well, I don't know.
Usually a
Monitored?
community well that's monitored might have a generator or more parts that keep it moving when the power goes out though. So private wells. You don't have water.
Like when you didn't have power.
Yeah,
like
so,
last year.
yeah, so when I didn't have power, I also didn't have water.
Yes.
So the.
Are you telling me that? I'm like, well, I'm a
Yeah.
baby, because I didn't have power for 4 days, I was way about it, but I have.
No power, you want it. Okay, so I wanted to show everybody how to look up well information. It is public access. It is right here at your fingertips and you can look it up. So if you want to do this, you can follow along with your computer or you can just watch. I'm going to stop sharing this screen in a second. You're going to go to the Department of Ecology. So you just type in the search bar, Department of Ecology, Washington State. I'll stay here for a minute. And we're gonna go Washington Department of Ecology. Department of Ecology. Okay, then you're gonna click the Department of Ecology. It's gonna be under water and shorelines. Then we're gonna go down to water supply. And we're gonna click wells. Okay. Then we're gonna go down and we're going to look up well information and resources and find a well report. And then click the state well report log viewer. Okay. Then we're gonna go to map search because that's the easiest way for me. And you can look up the wells in our entire state. I am going to, for the purpose of showing you how to do this, show you my well. So I'm gonna go to my county. I'm gonna zoom in further to my city. HIJKL. There it is. Okay. Then I'm going to click select wells, which will allow me to make a square. And this pulls up all the wells within my square. once I am in the square, I can kind of scroll through and see what general things are in that area.
When you say your square, what do you mean? Are you just finding an area close to you?
I'm just finding an area close to me. Yep.
Okay.
The other way to do it is to click the zoom in button and you can, oops, sorry.
Did you type in a property address? Or no?
Oops. Oh, come on. Sorry, this is not super user friendly in the fact that you need to be able to click pan and scroll for panning over to the side. I don't know where I am anymore.
Yeah, I'm having that issue too. It's not
Yeah, hang on, let me zoom out.
not super awesome.
Yeah, it's terrible as far as the user friendliness of scrolling. But you can click pan and you can scroll this way, and then you click zoom in and you can zoom in. Like pan, and it's not the greatest. On your phone, it's actually easier.
So are those little X's, are those all wells?
No, these are just
Like
these are just markers. Yeah. Zoom in again. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom to select my wells. And my well is in this spot right here. These are not mine, but just for the purpose of showing you how to do this.
So-
you can view the well information by clicking view PDF.
How did you get to that page? Maybe I wasn't, I'm here. I'm just somewhere over Oak Harbor. I'm assuming there's gonna be some wells here.
There's gonna be some wells. This will have well documents. It shows where the well is located. I'll go through more as far as like how to look up each of the reports too. I don't know what time it is. I'm not watching the time very close.
10:30.
Okay. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit. All right, you got it?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway,
So it doesn't let you put like a physical address in?
so I've never actually done, oh, here, address location, I can do that here.
If you did it by text search, I bet it would. Yeah, you could even search it by owner name. In the text search.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah, so here's the actual address. I just don't know why it's not showing my wells right now. Because my well is located literally right here.
It's because you're teaching a Zoom class. Or
It is, yeah, so I'll do this in a minute, but anyway, I want to show everybody that you can go to the Department of Ecology and you can look up all the well reports. So I'm gonna maybe stop the recording and then I'm gonna show everybody else how I've done this. But at least I just wanted to get this out here. Okay, awesome. So yes, next week there is a form change coming up. So I was going to just do a quick once over of some important form changes that are coming in July, effective July 11th. I'm gonna stop the recording.
What form is changing?
And oh, we have 30 form changes.
No.
oh, they're just doing a whole update.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording and then we're gonna go back. Oh, I don't see it. Can I hit this?
Well, no, that's gonna start recording because you're on.
It's really okay, Jen. Jason will edit
Okay.
out whatever needs to be edited out. It's
Okay,
fine.
perfect. All right, so I'm just gonna go back in then I'm gonna screen share again.
What's your address?
6633 Maple Leaf Drive, all one word. Okay.
He's edited out my good jokes. They didn't make my video, so he'll clean it right. Don't worry.
Good, I try not to be like super inappropriate. Okay, so. Oh. I've also gone to the Island County website.
And you said they're recorded with the county, so are you able to find that information on the county also?
Yes,
Oh, that's why you
I've
just said
gone,
Island
I've
County.
gone to the county before.
I was
Oh,
like
they
thinking that you were
updated
gonna-
their page here. Oh my goodness. Well viewer, groundwater data. It just brings you back to the same place.
Got it.
And then I'm gonna go back and do this again, because this is how, I kid you not, I've done this so many times.
Enhance.
Enhance. Okay.
That's all I ever wanted to do. Enhance.
Okay. Come on, select the wells. I want all of the wells. Our well is literally right here. I want all types of wells. Good grief. This too shall be edited out. I'll take any well at this point. Okay, well, here are some wells in the surrounding area. This is what I did while I was at a listing. I just clicked the area. Then I looked at the address or parcel number.
Beaver Creek Community, is that a community one?
Yep,
So that would,
should we look at it?
sure.
Static level is 326 feet below the top of the well. That's pretty deep. Shows you the type of the dirt that's all the way down, shows you how wide it is, how deep it is. This is just what the well is. I don't know if they have. What you get when you start clicking into some of these other wells is you get hyperlinks that can take you to all of the reports from one page.
I was gonna say, this report says, I'm looking at one, and it says it was received in 1989.
That seems about right for the island. I want the thing that I saw before. I want my interactive well viewer map. Interactive well viewer. Well viewers. Open up well viewer. Okay. See if this one does it.
And this is from Island County.
I just did interactive well maps. I just looked up Island County. But I actually have, or I used to have in my saved searches, the interactive well map. Here we go, that's this one. These are all the wells. Okay, so this is an interactive well map, which is what I was looking for. So things like these colorful ones right here. You can view it. It brings you to this nice screen. And you can look up water sample. Do not take me to this screen. We can look up here. Gosh, of course. Okay, well, this one's having an issue. Let's go find a different well. Here's mine. The Hanson well, Hanson water system. This is mine. We're gonna click to scan. Oh, you know what? I wonder if the page is just down. This would probably make me feel better if the page was just down. Because these hyperlinks take you to the 9 water samples that we've done. I'm gonna chalk this up to this not working because the site is down. I'm gonna try this again later, but right here, you can click and see all the well documents for the construction of the well. Right here, this water information has all the recent samples. And then from there, you can look at subsequent samples that have been done. Right here shows the, yeah, the page is just not working. So I'm gonna say that that's not my fault. But all of these hyperlinks bring you to every water sample they've taken. It has.
Average, median, and maximum arsenic.
Yeah, there's arsenic in some of the wells. Over
Okay,
there.
apparently.
We're 300 feet above sea level. Well, this isn't my well, but it takes, I mean, you can find everything you need from this well viewer. There's a key for the well viewer too. So if you're going back and you're looking at wells in the overlay on the map, you can see some of the wells that have been like decommissioned, or this one has a little red dot in it. So if you look over here on the legend, you can see what those colors inside mean.
That one has a lot more arsenic than the other ones.
It's 0.15, 0.015.
Yeah, the other one was 0.004.
Let's see if we can click on this water sample. Dang it, this page is just not working. Okay, so this is where you find all water samples. Everything about the well. You will get sucked into the rabbit hole of everything that this can show you. All of these are hyperlinks.
If that well parcel number, is that the same number that is on like the well tag? Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's the one recorded with the county.
So probably, yeah, okay.
This one right here. Actually, some of this one right here, I believe, is a community well. Yeah, the same person who owns this one owns this one. I'm pretty sure these are community wells.
Slinging arsenic in the water.
Yeah, we're just slinging it all over the place. In fact, there was a well, if I go to Langley Road, I can show you the one that was decommissioned. But I just want to click on one that actually has samples to view. I'm just,
Yeah, it's just not-
it's just not this page right now. Anyway, that's where you go. You can search well viewer map. The interactive maps are the best. And you can get well information from there.